Today on Running to Him. Our bodies are the first thing God gave us. Therefore, we should treat them as God's temple. Today's reading is 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 12 through 20, and we will be concentrating on verse 20. 1 Corinthians 6:20 says, "For you have been bought with a price, therefore glorify God in your body." Now, Paul discusses two instances where the body is part of our living. The first one involves food, that's found in verse 13. And the second involves sexual relations, particularly with a prostitute, but generally with all forms of sexual activity. Both these activities Paul mentions are a part of the human lives, and even as a single person at times may engage in a self-sexual or other sexual activity. And that's why Paul wrote this section of the letter. We all need food. I read of a person who put forth the theory that all one needs to survive is sunlight. After practicing that theory, he found himself dead. The problem with food is not generally the food itself, but it's how we view it. And to most of us, our food is intake, what we eat, and the amount of food that we eat should be considered as a form of sin against our body. According to the CDC, and given their current record on the facts, we might want to take these statistics with a grain of salt. They state the percent of adults aged 20 and over with overweight, including obesity, is 73.6% for the years 2017 and 2018. That means almost 75% of all American adults damage their bodies by eating incorrectly. Now, I'm sure there's a small percentage who can't control their weight because of a physical illness, but most of those who do not fall into that category are not eating correctly or are not physically active or both. Therefore, they are in a continual state of sin against their body. The area of sexual sin is also one that is a self-inflicted wound. Those who grew up in the 50s and 60s were taught, covertly at first, that sex should be a regular part of everyone's life. Bravo magazine, a German female teen magazine, produced picture stories about teenagers having sex, and although they never showed the actual sex act, it was still there. Playboy magazine pushed the idea that sex was fun and should be practiced by all, and religion was standing in the way of sexual freedom. A recently published book about Hugh Hefner showed the extent of his depravity. I won't say what he did here, but what he did and what he permitted others to do would have been a capital offense in the Old Testament, and it just wasn't adultery. But sex can be controlled. Sometimes it takes great struggle because of the pleasure it can bring in times of stress, but it can be controlled through confession of the feeling and submitting to God. Controlling the type and amount of food we eat is a process of submission to God through understanding of how overweight physical image reflects on how we feel about that which God has given us. According to Heart.org, 48% of all American adults have heart disease of some kind. A good portion of those affected could have prevented the condition if they learned to control their bodily cravings. Please understand, I struggle with food as well. I became a vegan because my body was negatively affected by my animal product consumption. Some of the damage I caused is permanent, but most has been restored through controlling my bodies. Our bodies are the first things God gave us. Therefore, we should treat them as God's temple. Thank you for listening. We pray that today's devotion was meaningful to you. We would love to hear from you. You can use either Facebook or YouTube to like, subscribe, share, and tell others about us. If you would like to contact us, you can reach me at phineasjacobus@runningtohim.net.